Okay, so I went ahead and split these videos up into two. We left off on the vibration with the tuning fork, so now I'm going to move on to position. I'm going to hold the sides of my patient's fingers and toes on both sides, and he's going to tell me when I'm pulling up and down. So go ahead and close your eyes. Let me see your finger. Okay, now tell me when it's up and when it's down.
Up, down, down, up.
Okay, other finger.
Up, down, up.
Okay, toes. I'm going to hold the sides of his big toe.
Up, down, up, down. Down, up, down.
Okay. And now we're going to do tactile discrimination. I'm going to put something in my patient's hand, have him close his eyes, and tell me what it is. So, close your eyes. Open your hands. Now close it. Now what do you have in your hand? Or what does it feel like?
Coin.
Correct. Okay, now let me see the other hand. Close your hands. What do you have in your hand? What's it feel like?
Cotton ball.
Yep, correct. Okay, and then that's checking for stereognosis to see if the patient knows what they're holding in their hand, if they can feel what it is that they have. And then for graphesthesia, I'm going to trace a number in his hand, and I'm on his palm, and I'm going to ask him what number it is with his eyes closed. So close your eyes.
Seven.
So he guessed 7. That was the right number. And then point location would be he closes his eyes, and I'm going to touch him some more and ask where he's being touched and have him touch himself where I touch. So, so close your eyes. Okay. And then next we're going to move on to the reflexes. So first we're going to do the bicep reflex. I'm going to have him relax his forearm on my forearm. So, hang on. Okay, so the bicep tendon is actually like right here. So I'm going to have him relax this. And then what I would do is I would hold on to it, and then I would place my thumb on the tendon and strike down on my thumb with the reflex hammer. So I would go, and then his arm would kind of do this, and he would feel this contract, his bicep. And then the next one, tricep reflex. The patient's arm hangs. So let me see this. The patient's arm is going to hang. So, wait, no, relax. Okay, and then I would hold it right here, and I would hold it at the antecubital fossa, and then I would strike right above his elbow. So I would hold it, he would relax, I would strike it right here, and it would kind of like come out a little bit, and it would kind of flex up here. Okay, and the brachioradialis, that's going to be, I'm going to hold his thumb, and then I would strike right above his wrist. And then his forearm would flex and his palm would try to supinate, kind of. So I would do it right here above his wrist with the reflex hammer, and his arm would kind of like go like that, and his forearm would kind of contract. And then the patellar, I would strike the tendon right beneath his patella, and his leg would kick. So I would strike it right here, and then it would fly up if his reflexes were good and intact. And then his Achilles, I would take his foot, dorsal flex, okay. Strike on his Achilles tendon, and his foot will plantar flex. So I would strike his Achilles tendon right here, and then his foot would try to go to plantar. So point down, plantar's down. Point your foot down.
I'm trying.
Oh my gosh. So I'd hit it right here, and then it would go down. Okay, that's Achilles reflex. And then now we're going to move on to clonus. So clonus is checking for hyperactive muscles. I'm going to hold the back of his ankle, let his leg relax, and then I'm going to put the patient's foot in dorsal flexion position. So clonus would be if the patient's foot tries to rise and go back, or try to go back to plantar instead of dorsal. So whenever I'm holding it in dorsal. So I'll go ahead and show you that, checking for clonus. So here's his foot, and then I would hold it and, wait, can you hold this and point it on your foot? So I would hold it like this, I would hold it in dorsal position, and then his foot would be trying to go down back to plantar, and that would be a sign of clonus. Okay, now we're going to move on to plantar or Babinski reflex. So I need to hold up his foot by his heel, and a normal reflex would be like whenever I trace an upside down J on his foot would point down and try to go into plantar reflex. An abnormal whenever his foot would be if his foot tried to go to dorsal reflex and his toes fanned out. So I'll go ahead and show you that. So hold this on your foot again, and I'm gonna you need to show the bottom of your foot. So like that. So I would write an upside down J, and his foot would try to go, normal would be it's trying to go into plantar. So point it down whenever I write the J. And then abnormal if I write the J and it goes to dorsal, and then his toes fan out. But we tried this earlier and he can't get his toes to fan out, so they would be like this. Okay, so that's Babinski reflex. Okay, and so with the reflex scale, an average, so all of his were average, he would have a 2+. If he had a 0, then he had no reflex. And if he had a 4, it's a hyperactive, so it's like super reflex, like shoot to the roof. And an alternative consciousness test, if you don't want to do the GSC or the GCS, you can do what's called the AVPU, which A stands for alert, V stands for verbal, P stands for pain, and U stands for unresponsive. So that's another way to do it. So to check if his eyes were fully open, then he's fully conscious, then he's alert. If he responds to a verbal command, that's verbal. And then if he responds to pain, and then if he's unresponsive to verbal or pain, like we did earlier, that's just another similar test that you can do for checking consciousness. We're gonna go ahead and move on to motor strength. So I'm going to have them squeeze both of my 2 fingers. And when I pull away, it's normal if I can't pull away, if his grip is good. But if I can easily pull away, then that's abnormal, because that means that I can remove my hands so he doesn't have a good grip on them. So go ahead and grab my hands. Okay, this is normal. Now go ahead and that's abnormal if I can pull away. Okay, so leg. So I'm gonna check again. I'm gonna see if he can lift against resistance. Sorry. That'll check his motor strength. So go ahead and try to push your leg up. All right, so he can push against the resistance. Okay, now this one. Okay, so that's normal. He has good motor strength. And then the superficial test is just when I was like, can you feel me touching you? And then he pointed to where, and he could feel it. And he said now whenever I touched him. And then, of course, the superficial pain was when I poked him with the sharp and dull objects, and he told me when it was sharp or when it was dull. And then for what we did in the other assessment video, where we checked for perla and we shined the pin light in the pupils, and we just were checking for equal distribution, round, reactive delight, and accommodation. So for example, when I shine the light in his pupils, they contract, and they're both equal. And then the reactive delight, because they contracted. And then accommodation is like whenever I move. Wait. Oh yeah. Follow my finger. And he goes kind of cross-eyed and his pupils contract. Excuse me. And then bedside neuro is just a rush to do a neuro exam. It's just kind of like the quickest way to assess. So you can do some of those tests for that. So that is all. Thank you. Say bye, Ryan.